Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am the creator and host of this podcast. I'm also the founder of the Feely Human Collective. I've been thinking about this show lately, coming up on 5 years doing this podcast all by my lonesome, and thinking about why I started it in the first place. I like to check in on the why piece of it. Like, why am I doing this? Does it still fill my heart? The answer is yes, to be very clear. But I like to check in on that, and I think about like what it is, why I created this in the first place. And I think part of it, a big part of it, in 2018 when I first started it, was to create more space to talk about mental health in particular, to talk about the hard stuff that comes with mental health. That is certainly not something that I had growing up, certainly that I was used to, and I felt like I needed it as a form of, collective therapy, and it's still that. We still talk about our mental health, but it's also so much deeper, I think, so much more than that now. I think it's at its whole, maybe if I'm trying to describe it, it's about being witness to the whole of each other in whatever way that means, whether it's a guest talking about their book, like today on the show, and what that book means in the grand scheme of our humanity and our collective healing and struggle and etc. And it also means me talking about my depression, or a friend talking about their eating disorder, or someone talking about love. It's really about our shared humanity and what that means to us, how we connect through that, how we find perspective through that, and develop our capacity for vulnerability and empathy and emotional curiosity as part of being in relation to each other. And the container is a podcast episode. A container is a conversation. So, I love this show. I want to keep doing it. And I also need you to know that it's a lot to do. So if you want to support me and the work I do on this show and with Feely Human, a great way to do that is to sign up for my newsletter at feelyhuman.co. Just click the banner there at the top. And I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/feelyhuman, where I'm doing monthly Movies That Make Us Feel episodes, which will soon in January transition into a new private membership community I am building. So if you want to just hear about all the stuff that's happening in the world of me and the stuff that I'm doing in building community, sign up for the newsletter. That's the best way to stay in touch. On that note, a couple of things happening soon is Friday. I'm doing another co-creating, co-working session, just virtually. It's a 2-hour session where we get together, talk briefly about what we're working on, and then play some calming music and get to work. I know I sometimes need that focus and that accountability. So if you're interested in that, you can just go to the link in either Feely Humans or You, Me, Empathy's Instagram, the link tree. It's in there. If you want to RSVP to that, that's on Friday at 9 a.m., I believe. And then the next Feely Hikes, which is where we move our hearts and our bodies, is October 9th at 9 a.m. in Santiago Oaks Regional Park in Orange County. So if you want to go to that, again, sign up for the newsletter. That's the best place to learn about that. But you can also just DM me on Instagram at YouMeEmpathy, or on Feely Human at Feely Human. There's a few more things I want to mention, but let's talk about the episode real quick. So this episode is episode 236 on what we are willing to risk for love with author Mansi Choksi. Mansi is the author of the new book, The Newlyweds, which is fascinating. It's an eye-opening exploration into arranged marriage in India, and love, and finding love, and love as a revolutionary act, and the emotional, cultural, and familial consequences of marrying against tradition. And truly, like, in that context, the context of Indian culture and this beautiful collective community culture that India has, with its also, it's not but, it's and, with its also hierarchical or, systematically oppressive system in some ways, what are we truly willing to risk for love? And so we try to answer that, and certainly Mansi tries to answer that, and I believe answers that in this remarkable book, The Newlyweds, which is available now. I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. If you go to bookshop.org, that's where I ordered mine. It's a great resource, or your local bookshop. But yeah, this is a wonderful episode. We mostly talk about the book. It's fascinating if you're interested in Indian culture at all, marriage, love, family, all of it. It's a rich conversation, and I thank Mansi for being a part of it and for writing such a beautiful book. Mansi is a brilliant writer, the show notes for this episode is always at feelyhuman.co. That's where you can connect with Mansi, or go to mansichoksi.com. Mansi is also on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Again, this is episode 236. Hope you enjoy. Last thing I'll say is, a couple more things. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I mean, I'm recording this on Sunday. Sundays for me sometimes are just distract-a-thon. So bear with me. I love you. One thing is, Yumi Empathy is not a substitute for mental health diagnosis, treatment, anything. I am a silly boy. I'm a feely human. I am not a professional, and this is not therapy or anything or substitute for any of that. So if you are struggling with your mental health, please seek counsel, look for a professional in that area. And I love you. I hope you take care of yourself. You're worthy of that care. And the other thing I wanted to mention is if you do want to support me, again, go to feelyhuman.co, sign up for the newsletter, patreon.com/feelyhuman. That'll be up for the next couple of months until the community. And the other thing is, give me a follow on Instagram at feelyhuman, at yumiempathy, and please leave a review in Apple Podcasts. If you haven't done that, please, I beg of you, if you leave a review between now and the rest of the year, I will read it on the show. I promise. I will read it. I will say your name. I may sing it. I don't know. But I really appreciate those reviews. It does help out this little independent podcast keep growing and reaching more hearts. So thank you for that. Okay, let's get to episode 236 on what we are willing to risk for love with author Mansi Choksi.
La la la, you, me, empathy, yeah, la la la.
Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans, trying to be human on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. Yumi Empathy was created so that we could be witness to our collective humanity through the lens of empathy, vulnerability, and emotional curiosity. We aim to destigmatize mental health, lead fiercely with our hearts, feel our feelings without shame and judgment, and share our courageous stories so that others may feel less alone and more connected as feely humans. Yumi Empathy is a brave place designed to inspire the beauty in each of us, because each of us, in all of our kaleidoscopic parts, makes up a magical whole that deserves to be seen. Today, I am elated to be here with a writer whose work has appeared in the New York Times, Harper's, New Yorker Magazine, National Geographic, Slate, among many others, and author of the new book, The Newlyweds, a literary investigation into India as a society in transition through the lens of forbidden love. It's Mansi Choksi. Hello, Mansi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to have you. I'm happy to talk about this fascinating book. I truly knew, like, this world is very new to me. So I learned a lot. And one of the things I love, one of the selfish things I love about doing this show is I get to learn. I get to learn from my guests, and it's such a privilege. So thank you for being here. Thank you for writing this book, The Newlyweds. I am excited to get into it. But
Thank
before
you.
we do, we always kick off with an emotional check-in. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited to be in New York, and I'm excited to meet my friends. I'm excited to see the book in bookstores. That's a surreal experience.
Yeah.
And to hold it, in its glory out in the world. It's just been such a private experience so far. And now to see it out there and, people reading it and experiencing, the stories of these young men and women, is a really special feeling.
Yeah, I've spoken to quite a few authors on this podcast, and some of them, like, have spoken through the pandemic, right? And sort of the book promo in a pandemic, feels weird and hard and stuff. Like, first of all, like, how has that piece been for you? The marketing of it, like, how do you feel about that stuff?
Yeah, actually, the writing was, I began reporting this project about 6 years ago. 3 years earlier, in 2018, so that's, 4 years earlier, is when the book was actually, made official. And we managed to find publishers for it. And when after that happened, I soon became pregnant. So a lot of the writing actually took place in the postpartum period. And I did most of this writing actually in the early days when my son was really young and essentially a newborn. So that was a real challenge. I had to sort of teach myself to write in 15-minute installments, to write while putting him to bed, while diapering, cleaning, in the offices of doctors. So it was a really intense couple of years putting this project together. But I do think that it's also the thing that kind of carried me through a difficult period. And it's just a very sort of special, a really special project, because it's just meant so much to me. It's the crutch that I've leaned on while I was dealing with a massive life change. To kind of hold on to that identity of my previous self. So in that sense, it's been a very meaningful project, personally.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing some of that context. Like, this book is clearly dealing with a lot of this idea of identity, right? And who we are in context of systems that oppress us, systems that silence us, and systems that take away our autonomy, right, as individuals.
Absolutely.
Right? In the context of India and love and marriage and stuff. And then you changing, you becoming a mother, which is like big identity shift.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
how old is your kiddo now?
He's 3 now. He'll be 3 soon. Yeah.
All right.
So he's literally as old as the writing began.
Yeah, I mean, what a task, what a momentous task that is to write a book at the same time of being a new mom. Like,
yeah.
I'm assuming you had lots of help.
I did have
support. Yeah.
I did. I mean, it's my husband and I that live away from our families. We live in Dubai, and our families are in India. But we did have help. We had childcare, which I'm really grateful for. And of course, my husband is very involved and hands-on. So he took a lot of the sort of labor of child rearing in the early days off of me, so that I could write this book.
I love that. It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is, like, how long have you been with your husband?
An eternity. We actually we actually began dating when we were in high school. So
Wow.
yeah, several years. Possibly 20 years.
Wow, wow. Well,
Yeah,
I love, I mean, so my partner Jessica is in the process of getting her doctorate
I see.
in prison education.
Wow.
And you know, there are these ebbs and flows in relationships where you have to, like, I'm at the point where I have to give her space, right, and time to write her dissertation, to work on her
Absolutely.
book, right? And I have to, you know, step up and be more, I mean, not that I wasn't before, but more present, more
Yes,
active, like taking care of the day to day, right? And these are the ebbs and
absolutely.
flows in relationships that are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, yeah, I think it's the tough times that really, bring people together
Hmm.
in a lot of ways.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, it required a lot on his end to kind of step up and kind of just be around a lot more. And of course, the pandemic happened at the same time. So,
Yeah.
in some sense, it worked out because we were all at home. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we were all at home. But I wrote most of this book at night.
Hmm.
I would at night and at early morning. So I would actually write a little bit at night, go to bed, wake up at 5 a.m. While my husband kind of managed our child. And I would have a sprint up until noon. And then I would then take over the responsibilities at home, and then he would get to work.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then again at night after he went to bed, I would start writing again.
I
But in
love
that,
it.
in some sense, it was nice because the hours not writing and not doing another kind of intellectual work were really good for me because they gave me that breathing room to
Hmm.
kind of like think about the progress I had made and kind of just allow those words to sit and to kind of I like the sort of pace and slowness of it
Hmm.
because it really helped me. I feel just each word was really measured and was really thought about uh, because I had this structure
Yeah.
to write this book.
I love that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we need space in between the hard stuff or the doing, right? Yeah, we need
yeah,
space to breathe and to reflect. Yeah. And it's
absolutely. And
clear.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes the like earlier when I would write, I would also write in these verse, but then the rest of the time I would be kind of fretting over things and just like allowing myself to be anxious about related things, but there was just no time for that.
Mm,
And I think that really helped my productivity.
yeah.
To have that sort of steady pace. I just kept thinking of it as climbing a mountain where you just don't look at the peak, but just keep looking at your feet, making these small advances, and
Yes.
just like I had a very modest sort of goal for every day. I would just aim to write about 250 words a day. And if I were happy with those 250 words, it was a lovely day. But of course, there were days where I was not happy with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I liken myself to be a writer. I am a writer and I have been a writer for most of my life. The discipline of it, I mean, you hear this often, right? The discipline of it is, um, it's hard, right? Like
yeah,
it's hard to like show up and do the thing every day. Um, I'm curious, really, like I'm curious about so many things, and I know like your sort of investigation into this world, and you know, as sort of written in this book, The Newlyweds. You know, I'm sure you came from a place of curiosity, came from a place of passion
yeah.
and wanting to disrupt. Um, I'm also curious about your own sort of personal connection to these stories and like really what it means to you, because I
Yeah,
get and understand what it means from like a systemic level, from what it means from like, and I want to get into this from like a what is love and the power of love level. Like that stuff's powerful, but like I'm curious about
right.
like the minutia of your personal connection to like,
Yeah.
why write this? Why
Yeah.
investigate this? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, this comes from like who I am. I was born to parents that married against tradition.
Mm,
My mom belonged to one class, and my father belonged to another. And they married against the wishes of their families. And then 11 years later, their marriage crumbled, and she returned home. And shortly after,
mm,
my father died. So there is this, I've sort of grown up in a home where this idea of what is at stake and what is at stake when you risk everything for love is a looming reality. This
mm,
is a question that I've grappled with most of my childhood. Because I grew up looking nothing like my mom.
mm,
My dad, I've never met my dad, and I've never seen any
mm,
photos of him. And I always wondered, what is it? How is it that I don't look like you? And it really bothered me. And then many years later, we she took me to meet his parents, and that's when I first saw a photo of him. And then it was me. It was, and
mm.
that's why I look like that. But yeah, it was a pretty it was a secret that was closely held in our family. Nobody talked about it.
Mhm,
Nobody gave me a clear answer of why this was a taboo topic. So I think this is like essentially the place that it came from is it was a way for me to understand um, why people do it and what it's like to live with the consequences of one impulsive decision.
yeah.
So even in this book, I try to, this book is kind of structured around the love stories we consume in popular culture, but I wanted to spend time in the afterlife of those love stories. I wanted to
Mhm,
spend time when in the scenes where this grand love kind of gets has to diminish to fit into life,
mhm,
into day-to-day life, and because that's what I grew up in.
mhm,
And I wanted to see what it was like for our generation that is so different from our parents' generation in terms of the time that we're born in, just the kind of access we have to the wider world. More of us are educated. More of us have a greater understanding of how people outside of our communities live. Um, and I think what I found is that a lot of us are exactly like our parents.
mm.
My takeaway from this book was that these young people are kind of similar to my mom. Uh, yeah. I hope that answers
That,
your question.
oh, it does beautifully. Um, that's inspiring to me. Like I love that you were able to connect your mother to the stories that you share in this book. Like
Yes.
that feels special.
Yeah.
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 That feels really
Yeah.
intimate and beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that you were a kid and I mean, you hear this a lot, right? Like you're a kid, you ask a parent, they're like,
Yeah.
you'll understand when you're older, right? But
Exactly.
that's
Good
not good
enough.
enough. That's not good enough.
Absolutely.
Like the insatiable curiosity of
Right.
children and our imagination is
Absolutely.
gonna be satiated in some way, right? And so
Absolutely.
you were able to kind of connect those two pieces, which is really fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So what I what was and I'd love to hear you reflect on this. Like what was clear to me as I was reading this book was there is a this is not a binary lens with which you're looking at this, right?
Right.
You see that like it's not bad versus good, right? Like
No.
right. And what I think is clear about really anything we talk about on this show is like let's dig into the nuance, let's dig into the curiosity. There's a lot in between that we're missing.
Right.
Um and I want to hear you reflect on the tension between maybe some of that tension between like yeah, these systems are history.
Right.
This idea about marriage, arranged marriage, these systems are history. They're part of the fabric of Indian culture. And we progress as humans. And,
Absolutely.
so how have you in your own personal life navigated some of that tension in
Yeah.
honoring and in moving forward?
Yeah. For these young people, I felt that this was a constant struggle that they had.
Mm.
This push and pull of what we want and what we're expected to want. And I felt that when I first met these young people, they were one thing, and then by the end of the reporting, they were another.
Mm.
I feel that this very question, this very tension that you talked about, wore them down by the end of it.
Mm.
When I first met them, they were, playful, spontaneous, kind of sort of naive. But now if you meet them, they're a little more calculated about how they're going to, make decisions. They're serious, and they're a little jaded.
Mm.
And I thought that was a really, just this one decision, having the power to change the course of your life, is just a really powerful thing. And
It's also
also,
overwhelming.
it's overwhelming, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that what I learned from this is that love can take various sizes and shapes. It can look like sorrow one day, and it can look like
Mm.
a thrill another day. And this is what I saw in them even now. Like, they have, highs and lows, and they're all very extreme. The highs are very high, and the lows are very low. And all of this comes back to to their choice. And another thing that I think, in Indian culture, there's this deep sense of filial duty.
Mm-hmm.
We're expected to live our lives and conduct our lives based on what our parents think. We really do seek their approval, and that might be because of the way the Indian family structure is essentially has is,
Yeah.
and so for me, I think what I came away with is that you might long for love while you're inside this family structure, but then when you do this massive rebellious act, and attain that love, that same space might become filled with a longing for acceptance.
Mm.
Um, um, uh, all of these young men and women want nothing more than their parents' approval. They want nothing more than to feel like they're acceptable to the same structures that they defied to be together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so universally human to
Yeah,
want to be seen and heard
yeah,
for who we are by the people we love.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if like when they make these decisions, it's kind of like they know that it's a binary. That if they make this decision,
Mm.
they're throwing away the affection of their family. But then they just can't come to terms with it. It's just a reality that they cannot recalibrate with. They just
Mm.
or like for instance, the Hindu and Muslim couple Monica and Arif.
Yeah.
Even though she kind of gets caught up in this rivalry with her sister, and their relationship kind of moves at a very fast pace because the sister has feelings for him. They get stuck with an unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah.
They run away together, but now all she wants is her sister to speak to her, and that won't happen. Same with Neetu and Davinder, the couple that are from northern India that run away from the same village. All Neetu wants is to pick up the phone and talk to her mother.
Mm.
And she often does that. She will just call and just hear her voice and put down the phone, but she doesn't have the guts to say that it's her.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, and Reshma and Preeti, the lesbian couple, when I think their marriage falls, I mean their relationship falls apart because primarily because of this, because Preeti just chooses to go back to a simpler, more peaceful life where she fits into the ideas of that her families hold as acceptable.
And I get it. I get
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
I get that I have such deep empathy for that decision, even though it's hard.
yeah,
Because there's what you're describing, and what is very clear is there's a ton of grief
yeah. There is.
in these big transformative, like familial shattering choices
Right, right.
to buck the trend, to go in the face of arranged marriage and all of these historical systems that have always been in place, there's big grief in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why it's not surprising that I think I quote this survey in the book where recently young people were polled about their views and attitudes towards marrying for love. And a majority of people came out and said that actually we believe that marriages should be arranged with, with partners from the same caste, class, community, religion, ethnicity, because these arrangements keep, systems in place. A lot of
Right.
these systems are hierarchical and oppressive, but it just seems like a less complicated, more peaceful option. And there's almost like a peace in defeat.
Yeah. I understand that, and it disheartens me. But I
Yeah,
also know that having or understand that having the weight of like my decision being this huge transformative thing that is in the face of these systems,
right.
that's a hard place to be.
Absolutely.
Gotta feel pretty alone in that place. So
Yeah,
if there's
yeah,
not a lot of folks around you in the same boat doing that same revolutionary act,
right. It can be isolating.
so isolating. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how do you I understand that, again, like I understand that why people go back, like why Preeti went back, right? Like I understand that, and I have empathy
Yeah,
for that. And I want, and maybe this is wrong of me, as someone who's like on the outside of this as a white cis,
yeah,
American boy.
yeah,
um, like I so take this with a grain of salt. I also want, quote unquote progress, right? From
yeah,
like a human lens. But
right.
then I'm also like aware of the fact that like, oh, I'm putting my American sort of values and an idea about what love is onto a culture, which isn't fair too. So
Yeah.
what do you want?
I think what I want is for our internal framework of morality to kind of expand,
Hmm.
to accept that it's okay to make choices for ourselves. Our idea of ourselves are so tied with approval from people we love.
Yeah.
And that is true that India is a very collective society. Like our identity is derived from so many groups that we belong to, because
It's beautiful.
yeah,
Collective is
uh,
beautiful. We need that.
we do need that. But I think
Yeah.
that that when collective systems oppress people to choose unauthentic versions of themselves,
Yes.
then it turns terrible.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people will consciously choose a moderately happy marriage, or a possibly unhappy marriage that fits into a particular mold over a marriage that they really feel deeply for.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty sad place. And I think it's just because of the way that our systems are designed, and the way that, and of course, culturally, the way that, we kind of put so much emphasis on the idea of marriage and the
Mm-hmm.
sanctity of marriage, that it scares people away from making choices for themselves and forcing them to lead inauthentic lives.
Yeah. It's it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so hard, and like even I have. I mean, like even I have felt some of that, like pressure, right?
Right.
Familial pressure, and this idea of marriage being this thing here in in America that is, the sanctity of marriage, right? Like there is a lot of that, that's certainly wrapped up in like Judeo-Christian religions. This sort of like intrinsic value of marriage, that's a thing, which
Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
necessarily agree with, but like
absolutely.
we hold it as to be intrinsically valuable, and then those who opt out of marriage like are somehow bad or less valuable, which
Right.
again, there's all these things at play which contribute to it, but
Yeah.
it's hard, as
It's
I
hard.
said.
It is hard.
I want to go back to what you said before about what, like, I think you had, I listened to a podcast you were on, and you were talking about one of your goals for this book being, like taking this idea of love being this big grand thing, which it is,
Yeah.
but also getting it down to the nitty gritty of our lives, right? The
Yeah. Yeah.
mundanity of our day-to-day lives, and how crucial that is from like
Yeah.
like if I am to look at, like if I am as American gonna look at like what love is in India, I see it in Bollywood, right? You mentioned that in the book, right?
Yeah.
And there, and that's beautiful. And there's these big grand gestures,
Right.
but it's also like in that grandiosity, we're losing a lot of that. We're losing a lot of the individuation and a lot of the nuance that is bypassing a lot of that choice. That is bypassing maybe the fact that, oh, didn't we forget that homosexuality was equated to bestiality for the longest time in India, right?
Yeah.
So let's dig into that a bit more. I'm really curious about that piece. Like, how do you feel about that piece?
Yeah. I think what's interesting is that when these young couples make these choices based on ideas borrowed from pop culture and especially Bollywood, we think of love as this subversive force that can bridge divides, divides of class, caste, etc., etc. But the truth is that we are shaped by a lot of those biases as individuals. So Monica, for instance, cannot help herself from saying, "Hey, but you're Muslim," when Arif proposes to her.
Right.
Or Preeti cannot help herself from telling Reshma, "But you're not a man, and there's nothing you can do about this, and nothing will give me that respectability."
Right.
And I think that tension, that one is using this subversive force to rebel against an oppressive system to be together, but then kind of coming to terms with the fact that actually I'm also harboring some of these biases, is a very difficult sort of place to be in. It's a constant like oscillation between you're a symbol for doing something subversive, but then you're also a person that doesn't entirely believe this is the right thing. And that's what I really meant by what love looks like when it gets reassigned into day-to-day life.
Right.
Monica is shocked at how poor Arif's family is. It's just something that she cannot wrap her head around. It's a big shock to her that she has made a choice that has landed her in a situation where she doesn't know if she's going to be able to give birth in a government hospital, where she's heard horror stories about women being left squealing in pain on communal operating tables, or she's going to be able to give birth in a private hospital, which would cost as much as a couple of McDonald's burgers that she would have had mindlessly with her family. It's a very big cultural shock for her. And that's what I mean. So in that moment, love to her seems like a stupidity, and it seems like a really idiotic ideal. Even Neetu and Devinder have this moment where they're grappling with all the horrible things that have happened to his family because of their elopement. And they have some time together, and they decide to kind of just listen to some romantic songs that would have moved them to tears when they were dating. And her instant reaction is, what are these lyrics? Like, why do people even listen to this? This is so silly. And I think that moment said so much about where she had come. And that
Mm.
moment said so much about how her idea of love had changed. That's what I wanted to get at, because I feel like we don't talk about this enough, especially in Indian society. We don't talk about, most of us consume Bollywood and Indian pop culture, but there's seldom any place in these narratives for what happens after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what happens after? There's so much at stake.
yeah,
Like I'm just again like I married Jessica maybe what has it been 12 years ago, and we had there was some familial pressure, and some family members are like, I don't want to be a part of it because it's not this way or whatever, but like
right,
that's the extent of it,
right.
right? Like,
Yeah,
so like thinking of some of these people, the decision to choose love,
yeah,
it comes with all of this
yeah,
baggage, comes with
yeah.
all of this repercussions. Like
It's a lot.
that's a lot. It's a
It's a
lot.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, yeah, there's like this, you know, specter of violence that is looming in all these stories.
Yeah.
With Neetu and Devinder, it's physical assault and physical violence. His house is destroyed. His mother is attacked. She's hospitalized for several days. They're essentially rendered homeless because nobody will allow this family that defied caste to live in this village. In Neetu and Devinder, I mean, in Monica and Arif's story, also there is this looming threat of violence. The right wing vigilante group Bajrang Dal is sort of hunting them down and putting pressure on the police to bring them back at any cost. He risks losing his police career. Monica fears for his safety, and in Reshma and Preeti's story, the violence is very internal. It kind of like the pressures of heteronormativity make Reshma act in really cruel ways,
Yeah.
make both of them act in really cruel ways. So yeah, the stakes are heightened. They're really heightened, and that's kind of why I chose to focus on working class Indians, ordinary Indians that are from villages and small towns that don't have access to the powers and privileges that a lot of us who grew up in big cities do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell their stories because A, we don't hear about them enough, and B, because the stakes are so real and are so great that it can change lives.
Truly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, here in the States, right, there is, yes, we've like there are certain people and sects of people that are sort of anti queer and gay and stuff, but like for the
right.
most part, like you choose who you love, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of freedom here. Yes,
right.
there's always room for improvement. And
Yeah,
and what you describe, and in the stories that you describe in India,
yeah,
like is one of your goals too? Yeah, yes, like to illuminate the afterlife, as you call it,
right.
but also to like, do you like, what does progress there for you look like? Like,
Yeah.
is there room for progress there? Like, what does that look
For
like?
me or for
Yeah.
these couples?
Well, I guess like, like as I'm reading it and as I'm hearing you talk about the truly love is this like revolutionary act, this choice. Whereas like here, like, I'm in love, I'm in love,
Yeah.
am I in love? I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I'm being flippant, but
Yeah.
like truly the in the stories you share in these real courageous hearts, like love is revolutionary, is like life altering.
Right.
So, and that's that's romantic, that's passionate, but that's also like, as we've talked about, comes with so much baggage. Like,
Absolutely.
so do you want, as someone who cares about this, as someone who has family in India, do you want the culture to soften, to like relinquish some of the
Mhm.
control around these ideas?
Absolutely. I would love for that because we are a generation of um, so many young people, a majority in the world. And the fact that we don't have the fundamental agency to make this private choice that can
Mm,
change the course of our lives is a very frustrating concept. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this should be a choice that is anyone's but the two people choosing to be together.
right.
I think that partly to blame is also the way that a pop culture is kind of structured. For instance, these grand ideals of romance. That's exactly what these six young men and women carry with them. When they fall in love, it's a very quick thing. They don't really. It's not a slow, careful decision.
Right.
It's a very, very quick thing. It happens within weeks. And it's a very sort of flippant sort of arrangement in the beginning. Like, for instance, Monica's like, oh, he checks off the two important things. He's hot and he's cool.
Mm.
And, uh, and that's all it takes for her to make her to have him as her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And for Neetu and Davinder, they check each other out on the way home from school. They flirt a little bit, and then they have to act really fast because of these systems that are in place. If they don't act fast, they're going to be married off to other people.
Right.
So
There's
yeah,
pressure.
there's
There's
so much
pressure to
pressure
be
to
fast. Yeah.
exactly. So we a lot of young Indians don't get to go through the normal ups and downs of a relationship. They don't have time
Mm,
to suss it out. They don't have
yeah.
time to see if this is really the partner that they want to be with for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
It's possible that if they had the time to like grow into a mature relationship, they might have chosen to separate at a much earlier stage.
Yeah.
But because of these systems that are threatening to tear them apart, they have to act quickly and they have to make these really big choices in without really thinking about it.
Mm, wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that piece of it.
Yeah,
That's so true. Yeah, I mean, having to make the decision to
yeah,
be like,
within
"Oh,
weeks.
this is the person." Yeah, within
Yeah,
weeks is like
yeah,
a
and
no-brainer.
you're throwing away everything that you know to be true. You're throwing away all these relationships that you hold dear. You're throwing away everything that you know. Um,
And you're denying that maybe like critical thinking part of yourself because you're like, this,
yeah,
I mean, I just got to go for it because like
exactly.
otherwise, I have this other terrible decision
Exactly, exactly.
or non-decision, I should say. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. How is the, like you mentioned this in Reshma and Preeti's story a bit, but like this, there was some suicidal ideation.
Yes.
Um, how is mental health, the conversation around mental health, especially in the context of these stories, like how is that, is there improvement there, like
It's
destigmatizing it?
non-existent.
It's
It's
non-existent.
non-existent,
Yeah.
especially in this particular strata of society.
Yeah.
There is a lot more awareness about mental health in the big cities and in the upwardly mobile classes.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular strata, no, zero.
Mm.
There is no, yeah. I mean, like, for instance, uh, I know that Reshma would really do well with counseling. All of them would,
Right.
with some kind of therapy, but there's just no access to it. It is prohibitively expensive. There's no government sanctioned, systems in place to provide access to healthcare, mental health care for people, and it's also taboo.
Right.
Especially in these sections of society, if you were to access mental health care, you're essentially termed crazy.
Right.
It would have to be a very dire situation. So even when Monica has these very real suicidal thoughts, Arif, the way he deals with her is just inadequate. For instance, he tells her, don't do this, don't do something bad to yourself. You make yourself tougher. There are other, that's his way of dealing with a lot of her trauma. That there are other people that have had it much tougher than you are facing right now, and
Yeah.
kind of just chin up and go for it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I think to some extent, within the LGBT community, there is some activism around providing healthcare to women like Reshma and Preeti. But outside of that, no.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is near and dear to my heart because it's
Yeah,
right. It's giving people the space to feel,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
and maybe a safe space to feel,
yeah.
and to connect and to talk about the stuff that's hard, and there's so much hard in these stories,
Right, right.
and to not have an outlet or
Yeah,
access to that care is devastating.
absolutely. It is devastating. It's just the six of these young people are disadvantaged in so many ways, in terms of access to. They're so worried about just survival. They
Mm,
just want to make sure that they're breathing,
right.
and these thoughts are secondary to them. And it's really sad that they have to go through this kind of trauma and have no way to process it.
Is there, you know, obviously, like you and I have deep desires for there to be these changes in this culture. Are there leaders in these spaces that are making and acting change? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, within the LGBT community, I would say, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very active space to provide healthcare to LGBT people,
I guess I also
especially
mean in
from.
general, right? Like
Yeah,
in terms of like, yes, the mental health care piece, but also the cultural oppression piece and the
yeah.
systems piece. Are there like political leaders? Are there like organizations like
Yeah, so political leaders would actually be afraid of touching this topic because
mm,
if they would publicly kind of agree with destabilizing these systems, these power balances essentially of caste and class, they risk losing a lot of their supporters
mm,
because these are such dearly held beliefs that a lot of people think of as protecting Indian society and its balance.
right?
Speaking up against that, it will be an affront to a majority of Indian people.
And I get that, right? Like
Mhm.
there is value in this is how we've always done it.
Yeah,
This is the legacy, right?
right. Yeah,
And there's always oppression in there.
yeah,
And like there has to be space for us, like let's step outside of the context of this for a second. There has to be space for us humans to be able to ask questions, be critical,
absolutely.
provide feedback, and to have these systems like reflect that, or be responsive to that and allow for, like, the rigidity is so harmful, right? The
Yeah,
rigidity
absolutely.
is the oppression. And
Right.
so, like, yeah, just like the
Yeah, it's
I guess that's democracy, maybe, is what I'm
yeah,
talking about a bit. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I agree with you. But within the Indian family structure, it's a dictatorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so much of like for instance, critical thinking is can be perceived as disrespectful.
Mm,
Asserting your agency can be seen as being unruly.
right.
Um, and is there is no space within the traditional Indian family structure to make room for diverse opinions.
Right.
sadly. It is changing, of course, in the cities and in the, in like the cosmopolitan areas. But in a majority of India, that sadly is not the case.
Hmm. Yeah. And I also I want to be very clear that I don't want to come across, or I am not, my intent isn't to be saying that like, oh, we have it better here in
No, of course
America.
not. I
Like this,
understand that. No, no,
yeah.
no. I absolutely
I
understand that.
there's I think deep value in tradition, and all things need to be scrutinized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. All
right.
things need to be scrutinized. Everything should be questioned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, your book is, inspiring and devastating.
Thank you.
I
That was
mean,
the hope.
it's like it makes me sad. It makes me
I know.
sad, and it also gives me hope
Yeah,
because of some of these stories
yeah,
and some of these people who do choose to find love in the way that they want to find love,
yeah, absolutely.
which is there's always hope, right?
Yeah, there is always hope. There is some glimmer of hope in, I think, all three stories.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
I agree. In terms of I think I read in the book that in like I think as early as or as late as 2018, the homosexuality piece in India was like
yeah,
reconsidered. Like, where is that?
yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
The
So
update on
now it's
that? Yeah.
been so in 2018, the Supreme Court of India struck down a colonial era law that criminalized homosexuality.
Right.
In 2009, 9 years earlier, a lower court, the Delhi High Court, had passed a judgment that decriminalized it. But then there was that judgment was overturned. So it was a big setback for the equal rights movement in India, which has been around since the early 90s, I would say. The activism to kind of the activism to repeal this ancient archaic law that has no place in Indian society.
Right.
And also the strange thing is that actually in Indian culture and in Indian mythology, gender is a very fluid idea. In Hindu mythology, for instance, you constantly hear about gender fluid gods, like the spirits of gods flowing in and out of men's and women's bodies and making love and for having same sex relationships.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a taboo until a colonial period came in. And then, this idea of Victorian morality, became confused with Indianness.
Right.
So it's a strange process of unlearning and relearning that we're currently going through. And I hope that, now that we're finally have our first victory in striking down this unacceptable law, that, keeps moving forward.
Good.
Yeah.
Shame on all the colonizers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you worry about backlash to this book?
I do
Yeah.
worry about backlash to this book. Especially when I started writing this book, India was a different place politically, and now it is a different place. It's releasing at a time when it's a little scary to have a critical take on the political systems. I'm definitely a little worried. I hope that it doesn't get banned or it doesn't like lead to some kind of lawsuit. But yeah,
There's a
I'm
chance of
definitely
that?
yeah. I mean, where it's not unheard of in the past years for books to just face all forms of litigation by the parties in power.
Well, in the face of that, it's courageous of you to put this book out in the world.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's hard.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
Well, the book is out now,
Yes.
right? So listeners, go order it. Order the
Please
Newlyweds.
do.
Yeah, and I if you don't have a local bookshop close to you, I really like bookshop.org, which supports local bookstores. You can order it from there. And yeah, pick it up. It's wonderful. The link to the book is in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Mansi, let's talk about our empathy heroes. We always kind of wrap up the show talking about someone in our lives who's empathetic, compassionate, could even be a character from a story or a movie we love. I will go first to give you a moment to reflect on your empathy hero. So just last week, I finally watched Minari. Have you seen Minari? It's a movie.
No.
So it came out a couple years ago. It's about this Korean family who moves to where is it? Somewhere in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to start a farm, and it's in the 80s. And it's a beautiful, beautiful look at integration into society, integration into family, sort of the value of like maintaining and honoring our culture as we sort of integrate into a new culture.
Right.
And faith too, and like faith in like each other and faith in ourselves. It's a beautiful movie by Isaac Lee Chung, the director, and it's very lyrical, and it's the music is beautiful, and all the acting's wonderful, and I believe I watched it on Showtime, so it's streaming there if you have Showtime. But I highly recommend it to you, Mansi. I think you should.
Yeah.
It's called Minari, and it's beautiful.
I will check it out.
It's
I've
really,
heard of
really
it,
good.
but I haven't ever gotten around to watching it.
Yeah, it's add it to your list. It's wonderful. Okay. So listeners, if you haven't watched Minari yet, please do. It's I believe a deeply empathetic movie that I highly recommend. Yeah.
Thank you for that recommendation.
So how about you? Who's your empathy hero this week?
I think it's this week and every week, Catherine Boo. Her book Behind the Beautiful Forevers changed the way that I work. It changed the way that I approach people I want to write about. It changed the way that I listen to them, and it changed the way that I document their thoughts. I just felt that it was just such a spectacular piece of journalistic work with so much integrity and so much ethical weight that it just inspires me every day.
I love that. And name the author and the book again.
It's Catherine Boo, and the book is Behind the Beautiful Forevers. It's set in a slum in Mumbai.
Okay.
And she presents the characters in just such fullness and in such authentic. In such authenticity that it just blew my mind. It's growing up in Mumbai. It's I could see so many of the people that I come across in that book. And I just after I read that book, I think I read it every few months just to remind myself of what is possible if things are done right.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that you're able to connect to the characters.
Because as someone, as an outsider, she came in and she wrote this book, and the fact that I could hear and see these people around me with such, with such authenticity is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to capture, and I think you can only do it when you have when you operate on nothing but empathy.
Yep. I always talk about books as portals to empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go in without, you shed all your arrogance and you shed all, all the things that you carry with you all the time, and just sit down with a person and listen to their story with, an honesty and a sincerity that they deserve. It just really shines through.
Yeah. It's the best. It's the best place to be.
Yeah.
There's so much learning and gleaning and beauty there that I really value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Mansi, where can the listeners connect with you? And obviously, I mentioned the book, but
Yeah,
order the book. Like, where's
yeah.
where are the best places?
I have a website. It's mansichoksi.com. If you send me an email, I'll definitely get back to you. I'm on Twitter and on Instagram. It's Mansi_Choksi. So it's MANSI_CHOKSI.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the book, The Newlyweds, is available wherever you get your books. Order it, read it. Let Mansi know you love
Yeah.
it
Yes,
as much
make
as I
my
did.
day.
Yes, make Mansi's day.
Thank you.
Well, what a joy this was. Thank you
This was
for being
fantastic.
a
Thank
part of.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
And to
you.
you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here. We're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's you, me, empathy.
La la